with a gun, firing several shots.
I heard a woman screaming from my office window and had a look out, and there was a man holding her by the ear, shaking her about, and the man just pulled out a gun and shot 3 people.
He appeared to be incredibly purposeful. He was poised. He wasn't flailing around and panicking. He just simply went bang, bang, and then just walked away.
As nearby office workers watched in stunned silence, paramedics tried to revive one of the victims. But despite their frantic efforts, the 43-year-old man died at the scene.
He was a solicitor that worked in the city. A tragic set of circumstances, and it does appear as though he's been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Another man in his 30s and a 24-year-old woman were rushed to the Royal Melbourne Hospital in a critical condition. Witnesses say the gunman and the woman had earlier been involved in an altercation at the Barcode nightclub in nearby King Street. It's believed she fled the scene in a taxi with a man in pursuit. As the city went into lockdown, police launched a massive air and ground search for the gunman. Just after 10 o'clock, the weapon used in the shooting was found by a worker at this construction site in Queen Street. But as the city returned to some normality tonight, there was still no sign of the gunman himself, as those who witnessed the shocking events were left reeling by the latest dark chapter in Melbourne's history of shootings.
Total shock and disbelief, just watching people around me. It was like you're on a movie set.
It was quite surreal to be there. It was like, didn't seem like it was actually happening. It's like the sort of thing that you see on CSI.
Nick Johnston for Nightline.
And as we mentioned, police have named the shooting suspect as Christopher Wayne Hudson, a member of the Hells Angels bikie gang who was at the centre of a violent brawl on the Gold Coast last year.
28-year-old Christopher Wayne Hudson was involved in a violent brawl and shooting on the Gold Coast last year between motorcycle gangs the Finks and the Hells Angels. It's believed Hudson was a Fink but became a member of the Hells Angels and a recruiter of other former Finks. For his underworld betrayal, Hudson was shot twice in this brawl, in the chin and back, but survived to be charged along with the men who allegedly tried to kill him. Some members who were arrested that night were bailed, but Hudson was initially refused bail. He was kept in custody because he was wanted in New South Wales for assault charges and up to 40 counts of fraud. But eventually Hudson was released on bail. He lived with his parents in this Gold Coast house, and then he came to Melbourne. Now he faces his most serious criminal charges. Police were this afternoon reluctant to release a picture of him before he was positively identified by his victims in hospital. They're also appealing for the taxi driver involved this morning to come forward. Paul Kennedy for Nightline.
The split second that can spell life or death was dramatically and tragically shown today with the release of military video of last year's Black Hawk helicopter crash that claimed 2 Australian lives. The aircraft was coming into land on HMAS Canimbla off Fiji when it slammed into the deck and spun into the sea. Nine reporter Mark Burrows has been covering the opening day of the inquiry into the disaster that killed the pilot Mark Bingley and SAS trooper Joshua Porter.
Yes, thanks, Michael. An extraordinary day of twists and turns. All day the Army tried to have the video of the Black Hawk crash suppressed. We heard late this afternoon that even Canberra was leaning on the Board of Inquiry, asking it for the video not to be released to the media. But released it was by the board president, David Levine, and this is what he said was in the public interest. The video is graphic. It shows the Black Hawk coming in to land on the aft deck of HMAS Canimbla. The helicopter slams into the deck, the tail rotor snaps off, and the fuselage spins off violently into the ocean. Remarkably, 8 servicemen did survive that crash, but the pilot, Captain Mark Bingley, went down to a depth of 30 metres with the aircraft. There was evidence that he did manage to get out of the chopper, but he never made it alive. He drowned, and despite the best efforts of medics on board Canimbla. Trooper Joshua Porter went down with the wreck to an amazing depth of 2.5 kilometres. His body was recovered in March this year. As I said, the inquiry is headed by the board president, David Levine. This is what he had to say at the commencement of the inquiry.
Its function essentially is to deal with three questions. What happened? Why did it happen? And what steps should be taken, if necessary, to ensure as far as humanly possible that it cannot happen again.
Now, I should point out what made today so emotional was the fact that the two widows of these servicemen were in the inquiry room to see the video of that crash. Corinna Porter, the wife of Joshua Porter, she was there with a young baby, the baby that Trooper Porter never got to see. Also in court, Melissa Bingley. She was in court as not only the video was released, but also as all the details of the crash did emerge. Counsel assisting this inquiry said there would be evidence that the chopper, as it came in, was probably going too fast. It was also hampered by a tailwind, which made the chopper very difficult to control. The tail rotor didn't get bite, and so when the power was brought on, Captain Mark Bingley was really struggling to control this chopper. There was also evidence that at a morning briefing, those wind conditions weren't taken into account, and the counsel assisting suggested that this flight should have been cancelled. It should never have happened. In coming days, there'll be plenty of evidence from SAS personnel who were on board the chopper. But for today at least, certainly the story of the day was this dramatic vision showing the last moments of the helicopter 221 hitting the deck of Canembla. Michael, back to you.
Thank you. Mark Burrows reporting there at that military inquiry. The Howard government has moved to head off Federal Labor's broadband strategy with a national connection plan of its own. It involves delivering wireless internet to regional Australia, though Labor has countered, accusing the Prime Minister of blatant pork barrelling.
Labor paints him as out of touch.
What spectrum are you using?
And Australia's struggle to deliver high-speed internet around the country has been a perfect issue to make the point. Goulburn John Howard delivered his megabyte counterpunch.
In 2 years' time, 99% of the Australian population will have very fast broadband.
The government's plan is for a privately funded fibre optic network for urban Australia. For rural areas, Optus and Elders will match the government in funding for a total $1.85 billion to deliver high-speed wireless as part of a mix of technologies.
You'll be able to take your laptop out to the shed and you'll be able to get on with business.
A first-class system for Australia's cities, it seems, but a second-class system for rural and regional Australia. We don't think that's good enough.
Now it's on, a bewildering pre-election argument over the respective merits of the two parties' broadband plans.
So Labor's broadband proposal, where they're going to steal $2 billion from the bush, they're not going to achieve 98% coverage.
Labor has a vision for the future about revolutionising the country.
Labor says the government's plan is pre-election trickery, and to make its point, it's released this. It's an email apparently leaked from the office of the Communications Minister, and it's about the rush to develop broadband media kits for promotion in 40 government-held electorates.
Isn't it a fact that this email demonstrates that your broadband policy has been prepared primarily as a pre-election band-aid to protect coalition marginal seats?
Mr. Speaker, the answer to that is no.
Tim Lester reporting for Nightline.
The trial of a Queensland police officer charged over the death in custody of an Aboriginal man has been told the case against him is part of a prosecution vendetta. Final submissions are now being heard in the trial before the jury considers its verdict.
Summing up their case, the defence claimed Chris Hurley is the sort of policeman everyone would like to have as their local copper. His barrister told the jury the case against him is based on superficial nonsense, a ridiculous theory born out of desperation. That theory is that Hurley deliberately kneed Cameron Doomadgee after they fell on their way into the Palm Island station, causing his liver and portal vein to rupture. Bob Mulholland said Hurley was a police officer who'd done the hard yards, but the charges against him could be the result of a cynical attitude towards police. He described the prosecution argument as unfair and included tawdry cheap shots at Mr Hurley and a determination to get him. Turning their attention to the evidence presented by the 13 prosecution witnesses, the defence said none had seen him deliberately attack Doomadgee. The defence's marathon summing up will continue tomorrow before the prosecution gets one more chance to convince the jury of its version of events. In Townsville, Matt Dunstone for Nightline.
On the New South Wales Central Coast today, a combined funeral was held for the 5 victims of a road collapse during last week's storms. Relatives and friends mourned the couple and 3 children whose lives were cut short in terrible circumstances.
They died together. Today, they were laid to rest together. Hundreds packed the Palmdale Lawn Cemetery on the Central Coast. There were hugs, kisses and tears.
We're here today to celebrate 5 lives.
Adam Holt, his partner Rosalind Bragg, their daughters Madison and Jasmine and nephew Travis Bragg died when their car was swept away by floodwaters 10 days ago.
Our little fairy princesses have gone to live above and took with them, their mummy and their daddy.
This morning it was a time to remember, a time to cherish.
We cry because their lives are over, but we smile because they happened.
Travis Bragg's mum, Sharon, struggled to find the words.
He loved his sister.
Adam Holt was everyone's mate, Rosalind, the life of the party.
Adam never had a bad word to say about anyone.
Reverend Mark Watt has never had to conduct a service for 5 people.
I haven't, and I hope I never have to again. It's an horrific situation.
With the family battling to cope with the grief, investigations into the road collapse are continuing. The results will be passed on to the state coroner. Simon Boda reporting for Nightline.
A Brisbane drag racer will not be charged after a crash which killed 6 people at a children's charity event in the United States. Troy Critchley was demonstrating his skills when his car speared into the crowd.
This home video caught the moment no one was expecting.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Troy Critchley's drag car out of control during an annual charity exhibition in Selma, Tennessee.
Hit the light pole, slid over, hit the people on the four-wheeler, and I mean there was bodies everywhere, flying through the air.
6 people were killed, including 3 teenagers. 18 others were taken to hospital. No one had any protection.
There are guardrails that protect them from the start, but where the car had gotten to, no, there was no guardrail.
US-based Critchley suffered minor injuries, but his family back in Brisbane don't know how he'll cope emotionally.
It's an accident, and I just got to hope that he can accept that. You know, I don't know how it's going to change him at all.
No charges have been laid as police continue to investigate, but the 36-year-old's former boss, drag racing legend Victor Bray, says the new father was at the top of his game, one of the world's best for more than a decade, meticulous when it came to his work.
I know how safety conscious he is, and I just know that something has tragically gone wrong.
Melissa Downs for Nightline.
James Packer and fiancée Erica Baxter will wed later this week in a shipboard ceremony off the French Riviera. With all the preparations looking pucker, there was time for a chukker. The couple flying to England to watch a polo tournament.
James Packer and his bride-to-be arriving back in the south of France after their brief cross-channel getaway. They'd managed to slip away to England unnoticed, escaping the prying lenses at their hotel. While they were gone, the unknowing media pack kept up their attempts to get a shot of them, both on land and at sea. Packer family members, meanwhile, stayed aboard the groom's yacht moored nearby. It's still thought it could be the venue for a floating offshore wedding ceremony because of French residency laws. The other possible location is onshore. Mr. Packer has booked out the Hotel de Cap, favoured by A-list celebrities for its luxurious interiors, large tropical gardens and sea views. Just 1 cup of coffee here will set you back $12. And while the Australian media contingent is chasing the story around the clock, the presence of the Australian billionaire and his fiancée isn't rating a mention elsewhere. Local journalist Dana Kennedy says the French will do their very best to pretend they just don't care.
Nobody really causes ripples in this part of the world because they've seen every big star.
The only person who may cause a fuss is Tom Cruise, one of the many guests predicted to arrive in the next few hours ahead of a pre-wedding dinner. In Antibes, France, James Talia for Nightline.
And coming up on Nightline, a real-life emergency on Sydney Harbour during APEC security exercise. And Saddam Hussein's golden rifle comes to Australia.
Just go get a DVD.
Okay.
Come on, let's go.
Now there's a new way to rent DVDs on Big Pond. Just browse and select online, and the video store comes to you. You don't even have to be a Big Pond broadband member to enjoy it. And with our 1 month free trial and no late fees, everyone will be happy. Well, almost everyone. Call 13Pond or visit bigpond.com.
With vehicle stability control and traction control, intuitive new Camry Grande knows what to do in an emergency.
Apply for a BP Citibank MasterCard before July 31 and get 10% off everything at BP for 3 months, including petrol. Even existing cardholders get 10% off till July 31. Don't miss out. Visit your local BP or our website.
Eliminate the hassle of jammed label sheets with the Dymo Label Writer. Just select, click and print perfect labels from a PC or Mac for envelopes, packages, files and more. Dymo. The easier, the better.
Security chiefs have carved off another slab of Sydney, announcing more plans for no-go zones in the city during the APEC summit in September. Along with the CBD, areas of the harbour will also be taboo. As training stepped up, police today found themselves involved in a real harbour emergency.
High drama on the harbour. Water police and anti-terror officers have spent the day perfecting emergency extraction drills in preparation for any attack on President Bush or other world leaders during the APEC summit in September.
Go, 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 go.
They've practiced storming a charter ferry during a simulated bomb emergency, keeping terrorist or protest vessels at bay and evacuating foreign VIPs. Amid all the pretend drama, a real emergency, an overturned dinghy and fishermen overboard off Watson's Bay.
One person on board that vessel is now accounted for.
The water police luckily on hand for the rescue. The fishermen picked up by the Manly jet cat. With so many foreign dignitaries in Sydney at the same time, the harbour's going to be as busy as the city streets. These anti-terror VIP protection officers and their water police colleagues have to be ready for any contingency. That means part of the harbour will be off limits.
There will be exclusion zones and a security zone, and the boating public will be informed of those.
The head of APEC Security, Peter Lennon, today briefed dozens of patrol commanders about what to expect.
It's isolating those police, it's getting them trained, getting them out there on the water and the land and the air to be thoroughly prepared for what's going to be a very, very big dignitary protection operation.
Sean Fewings reporting for Nightline.
Another hotspot on Israel's border has flared back to life with a rocket attack on a northern town. The missiles, the first to come over the frontier from Lebanon since last year's war. No one was injured. It's thought they were fired by the Palestinian faction Fatah Islam, which for the past month has been battling the Lebanese army. The splinter group says it wants to further destabilise Lebanon, and it's suspected to distract Israel as the Palestinian leadership suffers a disastrous breakup. As outlawed Hamas cements its hold on the Gaza Strip, Fatah loyalists on the West Bank are now being sworn into a new Palestinian cabinet. The Australian War Memorial now possesses a dubious treasure, a gold-plated assault rifle from Saddam Hussein's regime. The weapon was found when US troops cleared buildings in northern Iraq and later presented to Australian forces. The Army today passed it on to the War Memorial.
I guess in that way it sort of sums up the excesses of that regime.
The rifle will go on display from tomorrow. Bulldogs Rugby League star Sonny Bill Williams has admitted he has a problem with alcohol and won't be drinking until he straightens himself out. Williams has had another run-in with police after he was caught urinating in public.
Williams arrived at training in no mood to share his thoughts, but after a lengthy meeting with club officials, the Kiwi superstar dropped a bombshell.
I'll be seeking professional help with regards to alcohol, and until myself and the club feel this is under control, I'll be off the drink.
Williams read from a prepared statement. He wasn't taking questions, but he clearly has a few of his own about his lifestyle.
And I know I've been in this position before, but this time I've come to the conclusion that enough's enough.
Williams' latest run-in with police followed a long session at a Cronulla nightclub. He was caught urinating nearby and was hit with a $650 fine. The NRL is watching closely.
I think he should be applauded for admitting that he's got to make some changes. He was certainly very genuine in his apology to me.
This latest incident follows Williams' much publicised toilet romp with former Ironwoman Candice Falzon. He's also lost his licence for drink driving.
With the help of the club, I'll be making drastic measures to make sure this doesn't happen again.
The Bulldogs were in damage control today, with halfback Ben Roberts in trouble also over alcohol. He's returned a low-range DUI and the matter will go to court. The club has yet to decide what action, if any, it will take against the two. But as the Bulldogs stagger near the bottom of the table, something urgent has to happen. Clinton Fletcher for Nightline.
Another AFL player in strife, with former Magpie turned docker Chris Tarrant accused of punching a politician at a Darwin nightclub following Saturday night's top-end match against the Bulldogs. Damien Hale, ALP candidate for the federal seat of Solomon, claims Tarrant King hit him and bared his behind to a female patron.
Damien Hale is a heavy hitter in the top end, but it's alleged he was on the receiving end of one. From Chris Tarrant.
He just punched me, gave me one, and then he took off, so I didn't retaliate or anything, and we left almost straight after that.
Aside from his political background, Hale is head coach at the Northern Territory Institute of Sport and coaches the Territory's under-18 side. But what he saw on Saturday night won't be found in any teaching manual.
It was just offensive, I thought, in the way he basically pulled down his trousers and bared his backside to her.
The Dockers, though, are playing down the incident.
I've heard the reports, but no one's been able to tell me anything which actually happened.
Also emanating from a wild night at the top end, Fremantle assistant coach Mark Harvey was knocked out cold when he'd tried to stop the partner of one of the players being harassed, apparently by a local. As for Tarrant, his resolve to stay out of trouble since leaving Collingwood hasn't lasted long. Fortunately for him, Damien Hale won't be pressing charges. Tony Jones for Nightline.
The on-field sport action next with Stephanie Branson. Steph, after all that rain, Newcastle had a whole lot to smile about tonight.
Oh, well, Michael, the rain continued to fall in Newcastle, but that didn't stop the fans celebrating a crucial win for the Knights over the Raiders.
Reaching out and scoring, and perhaps winning the game for the Knights.
And Angel Cabrera, the new US Open champion, as Aaron Baddeley crashes out.
When journalistic integrity is everything.
Thanks for coming on The Nation.
Thanks for paying me. And absolutely nothing is sacred.
Right, come on!
You need the very best in the business. And when they're not available, come straight to The Nation.
Mick Malloy's back with all the celebrity news you'll ever need and more laughs per hour than anything on TV.
Fun, family, wholesome entertainment.
The Nation, Tuesday, 9:30.
Channel 9.
McDonald's has been getting ready for Shrek. To celebrate the release of DreamWorks Shrek the Third,
look out! Donkey in the house!
There's a far, far away pasta Happy Meal for little ogres.
Can I get a Happy Meal?
And big ogres will love the quarter-pounder feast with a minty mud bath shake. And there's a delicious new Green Swamp Sludge McFlurry to try. Shrek is now at McDonald's, so come and join the fun.
Have you got your Tats ticket to dream in this Tuesday's Super Sevens Oz Lotto jackpot? There's a gigantic $25 million to be won. 25 million Super Sevens Oz Lotto dollars this Tuesday. Grab your ticket at your Tattersalls outlet now.
Everybody's digging in 9MSN's Gold Rush. Play now and search the net to win a share in prizes worth over $250,000. Go to 9msn.com.au and start digging.
Baby, I'm chasing solid gold.
Newcastle skipper Danny Badira celebrated his 200th first-grade game with a man-of-the-match performance as the Knights stormed home to secure a 22-18 win over Canberra at Energy Australia Stadium tonight. Newcastle ran in 4 tries to 3 to leapfrog the Raiders into the top 8. The Newcastle region has been copping a hammering from the weatherman, and when Kurt Gidley let this one slip through his fingers, their spirits were further dampened.
That will be a try.
But the video ref disagreed.
No try.
When Josh Perry was hamstrung early on, the outlook was grim. But after a heavy round 3 loss the last time the teams met, the Knights were out for revenge. The arm wrestle continued till Withers burrowed low to ground the ball just after the break.
He gets down low. Yeah, that's a try.
And a helping hand from the upright sent Canberra into the lead.
Swinging back, gets it.
The locals couldn't get to this one, but their assault on the line continued. And though there were questions of a forward pass, the Knights were back in the game.
And McDougall grabbed it, slammed it down.
A penalty kick stretched the lead to 4, and when Walsh booted downfield, Canberra wasn't quick enough as Newcastle cleaned up.
They didn't get to it, Canberra. Ty certainly did though.
Brian Smith's faith in his young players paid off.
Still going, Chris Bailey.
A grubber from Badiris almost gave McDougall a hat-trick, but when the skipper went off, the Raiders went over and continued the fight to the bitter end.
Gives the ball to Brad Cross.
But despite the rain, Newcastle, back in the top 8, gave the region something to smile about again. The AFL's under pressure to punish clubs who select injured players in their teams, even though they have no intention of them taking the field. Bookmakers are leading the push after Hawk star Lance Franklin and Daniel Wells from the Kangaroos were both late withdrawals at the weekend.
It's a tactic AFL clubs are using more and more, and many betting agencies such as Tabcorp have had enough. They say if clubs name individuals with no intention of playing them, there should be repercussions.
If a player was definitely not going to play but it wasn't announced by the clubs, as per Franklin and Wells, that maybe some sort of fine could be invoked so that the clubs do think twice.
The theory is punters are being shortchanged, placing bets on teams and players without knowing there'll be a late withdrawal. But the AFL say their major responsibility lies with the competition, not the gamblers.
Well, we're running a football competition, not a wagering competition. The rules are pretty clear. Teams have to be announced by the Thursday night. There's 3 possible changes. The team then has to be announced before the team that runs out by 45 minutes before the game.
Fresh off their demoralising loss here on Friday night, the Blues are seeking an explanation from the Telstra Dome over another ticketing mix-up. The ground pre-sold general seats in a members area, leaving Carlton Social Club ticket holders irate.
It was very poor. Look, I mean, we're not making light of it. It was a pretty serious situation, and obviously on the night there was a lot of issues with it.
Melbourne captain David Neitz will miss again for the Demons with a finger injury. Nathan Eagleton has received a 2-week ban for this hit, while David Hill will miss 1 match. Chris Jones for Nightline.
To golf, and Australia's Aaron Baddeley fell away in the final round of the US Open. The overnight leader shot a 10 over par 80 to finish 13th, still the best of the Australians. Argentina's Angel Cabrera held off Tiger Woods and Jim Furyk to win with a score of 5 over par.
Taking a 2-shot lead into the final day, Aaron Baddeley had it all to play for. But whether it was his playing partner or the big crowd, something got to him on the very first hole. He triple bogeyed, and that was the beginning of a free fall down the leaderboard.
Not too bad.
He struggled to find the short grass, and the gallery was more likely to get hit than the greens.
Way left.
Tiger Woods was expected to pounce, but he made uncharacteristic mistakes.
It's in the long rough.
And it was more a case of stalking Angel Cabrera, who birdied 2 in a row to take the outright lead. In previous tournaments, the Argentinian had faltered under pressure, and today he hit 2 late bogeys, making for a nervous wait. Jim Furyk had a chance to catch him, but that was buried on the second last hole, and Woods needed to make this putt on the 18th to force a playoff. The miss left Cabrera as the surprise champion and the first South American to win the US Open. Bence Hammerley for Nightline.
Australia's defending title holder Troy Bayliss is closing in on the lead in the World Superbikes Championship. He won both races at San Marino and is now 21 points behind frontrunner James Toseland.
In race 1, from second on the grid, Bayliss was masterful, overtaking pole sitter Troy Corser. Challenges from Haga and Biaggi came to grief. Both riders saddled up for race 2, but once again Bayliss asserted himself and led from start to finish. Corser was placed 2nd and 5th in the 2 races. Bayliss now trails championship leader James Toseland by just 21 points. 22-year-old British rookie Lewis Hamilton has breathed much-needed new life into Formula One. Last week, he broke through in Canada. Today, he's taken out the US Grand Prix. Hamilton was pursued by teammate and two-time world champion Fernando Alonso.
You could put a cigarette paper between them.
Australia's Mark Webber finished 7th despite this detour. Nico Rosberg was in 6th place with 4 laps remaining when his Williams blew up. Hamilton withstood enormous pressure to win from Alonso, Massa and Raikkonen.
The first British driver.
A proud father looked on in admiration. That's my boy, and he leads the Drivers' Championship by 10 points. All sorts of weather confronted drivers in the Motor Racing Classic, the 24-hour Le Mans, and it took its toll. This driver ran into a retread he hadn't really counted on. Audi won for the 4th successive year from Peugeot. Ken Sutcliffe for Nightline.
David Beckham has played his last game for Real Madrid, and all the stars were there for his farewell, including Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes, who joined Victorian Bex' 3 children. Madrid was trailing 1-0 when Bex was replaced by Jose Antonio Reyes, who then scored 2 of his team's 3 goals to seal victory over Real Mallorca. It was Real Madrid's 30th Spanish League title. And well, Beckham's now off to play in America with the LA Galaxy. And Michael, to collect a cool £128 million.
Fantastic money, isn't it?
Over 5 years, it's not bad income.
All right, half his luck. Thanks, Steph. Stay with us, Karen and Tom with the finance, and tomorrow's weather with Janie Seal coming up. Plus, Kiwi pilots do it in style, a perfect emergency landing.
Mini Babybel, the healthy snack alternative. Now in light and tasty cheddar.
The Cure are back. One of England's legendary bands, The Cure, will be at Rod Laver Arena Sunday, August 12. It's close to me. Thursday, never looking back, it's Friday. Don't miss the enduring dark energy and intense power of The Cure live. Tickets on sale Friday. Presented by Michael Koppel and 3RRR.
Welcome to Family Health Diary. For rapid relief of muscle, joint and back pain, you need a specialised treatment. Voltaren Rapid 25 tablets are clinically proven to relieve muscle, joint and back pain. Containing an active ingredient that's been used by millions of people worldwide, Voltaren Rapid 25 tablets work fast, helping to relieve pain and inflammation for up to 8 hours. So for specialised relief from muscle, joint and back pain, ask your pharmacist about Voltaren Rapid 25 tablets.
Now to Nightline's finance report with Karen Cho, and a bumper session for our mining stocks, with Rio Tinto becoming the first local stock to test the $100 mark. Here's Karen.
Michael, BHP Billiton may be the big Australian, but Rio Tinto is the one with the big share price. The mining giant today trekked its way back to $100 and this time managed to push through the barrier in day trading to hit a high of $100.09 before settling at $99.99. Rising commodity prices also pushed BHP Billiton to a record $34.68, plumping up the portfolios of those who've bought into the booming commodities story. Meanwhile, unusual volumes in Wesfarmers driving its shares up 13% in the past week and prompting a please explain from the stock exchange. Wesfarmers says it's still considering the structure of its bid for Coles after reports it could offer more of its valuable scrip to make its offer more enticing for Coles shareholders. Rival private equity bidders can't offer the same tax advantages without teaming up with a listed company. 10 Network shares also had a volatile ride thanks to the rumour mill, with the shares plunging 4% before being suspended from trade. A media report suggested major shareholder CanWest had pulled the pin on the sale because of a luckless 8-month search for a buyer. 10 has indicated it's unable to respond until clarifying the position of CanWest. On the markets, Zinifex rose. Boss Greg Garley will leave at the end of the month. And Macquarie Airports gained. It confirmed the sale of its stake in Rome's 2 main airports. The All Ords put on 48 points. And Michael, that's the local market.
OK, Karen, thank you. Now let's go to Tom Petrovsky with the international markets. Tom, good evening. Wall Street ended last week on the up. What do you think? Is that going to continue?
Well, Michael, it's very interesting. Over the course of the last 3 sessions, we've seen US stocks rise by as much as 3%, which is an extraordinary gain, and you would think it would tend to put the ball in the seller's court. But tonight, we've seen a raft of takeover activity hit the markets, and that has seen the US markets move ahead rather nicely in the early part of the session. Interestingly, BHP is figuring in all this takeover talk. There's suggestions that it might be warming up that $40 billion takeover bid for Alcoa, and that's the talk of the mining sector. In general, we're seeing firmer commodity prices, which, if they're maintained, will certainly translate to a good backdrop for the local market tomorrow. But elsewhere, another factor that's helping the US markets is that longer-term interest rates are moving higher in price, lower in yield. 10-year Treasury note moving towards the 4.14 mark, which is another reason why the stocks are doing well in the early part of the session. But there's not much in the way of economic news tonight, so the momentum that we've seen over the course of the last couple of days will really be generated by pure optimism at this stage.
OK, anything interesting, Tom, with the Aussie dollar, gold or oil?
Nothing controversial there. In fact, there's some good news on the oil front, which has really been loitering with intent around the $68 mark, and there's been lots of talk that we could see a spike towards the $70 mark, but it doesn't look as though it'll happen tonight at least. We've got prices trading at around $67.54. Gold a little bit firmer, as are most other base metals, at $658.35. The Aussie dollar, 84.2 US cents.
OK, Tom, it's a new week. Anything can happen. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Michael.
Now let's go to Nightline's weather with Janie Seal. And as if they hadn't had enough, there's more severe weather on the way for New South Wales this week, Janie.
Yes, Michael. Now we have a third low rapidly deepening off the coast over the next day or so. This time the heavy rain will be confined to the southern parts of New South Wales. We could see up to and over 50 millimetres. Sydney, the Central Coast and Hunter regions will probably see around 20 millimetres. That will be nearer towards the coast. But winds will be severe right along much of the New South Wales coast, with plenty of warnings about. Now we've got some blizzard conditions for alpine areas. Also very cold for the southeastern states. We'll see some fresh winds and a few showers about for much of Victoria, Tassie and southern parts of South Australia. Staying dry in the west, we've got moderate to fresh easterly winds with this high. Now Queensland, much of your rain easing, but expect some below average temperatures with those southerly winds reaching you as well. Quite fresh those winds for Brisbane, heading for a top of 21 degrees. Sydney, rain and squally winds during the day and increasing overnight. Wet and windy also for Canberra, you're heading for 10 degrees. Southerlies bringing a few showers to Melbourne, 9 degrees for Hobart, cold enough for snow up on the higher peaks. Early showers for Adelaide and Perth. Expect some more gusty easterly winds, but it will stay dry. 18 degrees. Darwin, not likely to get another overnight shower, but it will stay cloudy. So the main focus this week will be the New South Wales coast with that new low. The worst weather Tuesday night and Wednesday morning at this stage, Michael.
OK, Janie, thank you. There were some anxious moments, but in the end it was a perfect landing as far as emergencies go. 17 people were on board this New Zealand commuter plane, and with the landing gear failing, the only way into Blenheim Airport was belly first. The twin-engine beach skidded halfway down the runway before coming to a stop. The safe arrival earning plenty of applause from onlookers. And that is Nightline for this Monday. I'm Michael Usher. From all of us here, thanks for your company this late night. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Channel 9. The perfect life. Until I was in a coma for 6 years. And then I woke up and found my fiancée married to another man. And they're raising my son. Everything has changed, including me. One touch, and I can see things. Things that happened, things that will happen. You should see what I see.